had infinite trust in the youth of this country. A man who strongly believed that the future of this country rested in their hands. A man who spoke of karma yoga, of character building, of nation building, of sincerity of thought, of scientific thought, and of intellectual prowess. Yes, Swami Vivekananda has given us enough for the next 1500 years or perhaps more. Ladies and gentlemen, you're with our special series and we are calling it Yuva. Youth means Vivekananda. Born as Narendranath Datta on the 12th of January in 1863, as we are heading into his 150th birth anniversary, over the next few weeks and indeed the next few months, we are going to debate this man, the philosopher, the maker of modern India, and try and look whether his teachings today are still relevant more than ever before. Along with this wonderful audience on this special show, we are being joined by a very eminent panel. Let me introduce you to them. Joining us here is Dr. Sharan Shivraj Patil. He's the chairman of Sparsh Hospital in Bangalore. Next to him is Swami Shantatmananda. Next to him, Kiran Bedi, Magsaysay Award winner, IPS officer and a well-known social activist. And finally here, in the end, Professor Y.S. Rajan, eminent Indian scientist, and of course I must add, co-author of the book India 2020 with former President Dr. Kalam. Thanks very much everyone for joining us here for this special show. Let me start this debate with a very open thought and perhaps through it to you, Doctor. How do you look at Swami Vivekananda? Do you look at him as a maker of modern India? Do we look at him as a social reformer, a philosopher?
His qualities attribute to all of what you said. And never before has been the need of reviving Swami Vivekananda's teachings and his philosophy than today's India. I find growing up in this country, as children we have great ideals and morals, and as we come into the youth and somehow we get to transform ourselves into the realities of corrupt society and the world. So I think that that transition can be very well addressed by Vivekananda's teachings and his convictions. Doing this program, especially focused on the youth, will do wonderfully well, and it's the need of the hour for our country.
Need of the hour, and indeed perhaps the need of the youth. Swamiji, you know, I think he's been quoted as saying that I'm grateful to my mother for the efflorescence of my knowledge. Here's a man who was so well versed in the arts, in the sciences, in our Vedas, in the Puranas, yet he spoke about physical exercise. It almost seemed like he was a complete personality, and that's why perhaps an icon for the youth here.
Yeah, he was much more than whatever you said so far. He's so big, infinite, it's impossible to describe his personality in all its dimensions. Whichever way you look at him, whichever segment of the society, whosoever it is, can turn to him for inspiration, for building one's own life, to be of some use to oneself, to the society, to the entire humanity. Actually, so much is in Swami Vivekananda. The world cannot really exhaust this resource. So, you know, it all depends upon us. We can do much more. This country can go far ahead if only we really try to understand him and imbibe, at least in some measure, all that he stood for, you know. He stood for patriotism of the highest order. He stood for an extraordinary life, a life which is so dedicated to the entire country, entire nation, entire humanity. In him, everything was extraordinary. More than anything else, the country today, particularly the youth, they really need him.
Kiran Bedi, the real guidance also comes from this man because of his immense strength of character and his immense belief.
Swamiji worked on a concept called who am I rather than what am I. His entire focus of education learning is who am I. The who means the head, the heart and the hands. That's what education meant for him. The 3H, which we talked even today, is the head, all that knowledge, all that emotion and compassion, and all that hard work. He stood for all the three. He was a combination of all the three, focusing on, for anybody to realize his self. His work was always on self-awareness. That means you may pray to anybody, but before you to pray to anybody, believe in yourself. So he stood for these 3H. The head, knowledge. The heart, the love and the compassion. And hands, the love of labor. That's what Vivekananda stood for. And that's what moment we as Indians, as youth realize that, oh, we gifted it with, I have a head, I have a heart and I have a hands, but I'm underutilizing one of the three. I'm that much less accomplished.
Swamiji, I'm not quite sure how much of our youth is actually reading about Swami Vivekananda in the way. Is this a potential that they are still yet to realize about the leader?
Definitely. This is a huge unexplored, grossly underutilized store of infinite energy. So, the more they try to access it, the more they try to draw from it, they will be immensely blessed and benefited. Somehow, this is a paradox, and in fact, I think quite often about it. Why is it that our youth are not taking to him with greater force, greater emphasis, in larger measure? I still really, frankly, I don't have the answer. Sometimes I feel like blaming even myself that we have not really put in our best effort to reach out to the youth. Because here is something where there's a clear answer to most of the problems of the world today for the youth of today, yet they are not accessing this, they are not going to him, they are going everywhere else and they come empty-handed. So here is a source where, he is absolutely neutral, is completely modern. Because he was a sannyasin, because he wore Giriva clothes, that doesn't mean that he was archaic and he was old-fashioned. He was absolutely modern. Only thing is, one should have the openness, the broadness to read and try to find out for oneself. Then only you will get the answer.
Isn't that so right, Kiran Bedi, that his teachings are prevalent still today and are in fact important, more than ever important for our youth, especially at the crisis and the social crisis we face in this country currently?
One of the things which Swamiji said, Swami Vivekananda said is, Jiva is Shiva. Jiva is Shiva. Means I am Shiva. But I must live in the moment. I must take responsibility for all I do. That's what Swamiji stood for. Be in the moment. Take individual responsibility for all that you do. And second, individual responsibility for what? For social good. That if I'm abusive, if I'm corrupt, or if I'm violent, I'm not only hurting myself, I'm hurting society as a whole. So he was both for the self and for all those around him.
And that in fact is the crisis that many of professions in this country will face. I think he also said, Nar Seva hi Narayan Seva hai. You're in a profession where there are doctors, where we're expecting them to reach out. It's also a profession that faces a whole lot of crisis. Absolutely. Doctors are not reaching out to the poor and the needy. They're not willing to put out postings in some of the rural areas. But it's a crisis across our country.
Absolutely. And especially a profession like ours, we commit ourselves to serve across all the communities and societies, irrespective of where they come from. Having said that, you're so right. There is a crisis at this moment in almost all professions, and ours is not an exception. We are saying it's okay to be corrupt. It's okay to be. It's almost like let's do what is possible, and not do what is not possible. We are not thinking let's do what is right and not do what is wrong. So the whole definition has changed, and that's why most of the people are going with the flow and doing whatever is possible and whatever is permissible in the society. We need icons, we need heroes who are done it well, done it rightly. Not anybody who's successful, even if it is the wrong way, should not be made the heroes. We are having a crisis of the wrong ideologies and wrong heroes. That needs to change in the society, and then we improve.
Professor, it's a vicious circle because this crisis exists because there's also a crisis of character. There is not enough emphasis on character building, that I will stand against wrong no matter what.
Actually, I will pick off from that icon. See, icon is good, but it is a small one. The biggest icon is yourself. This we lost. We started chasing false icons. So I will not say anything more than this except to quote for this particular moment. There is one in his own language. This is Swami Vivekananda's language. You hear it the way I say it. Can you become an Occidental of the Occidentals in your spirit of equality, freedom, work and energy, and at the same time a Hindu, he meant Indian, to the very backbone of the religious culture and instincts? This is to be done, and we will do it. And you are all bound to do it. Have faith in yourselves. Great convictions are the mothers of great deeds. Onward forever. Sympathy for poor the downtrodden, even unto death. That's our motto. This is Swami Vivekananda. There are many like this, but this is what he is. That you don't try to push it off to somebody. You do it. Are you ready to do? You will do it.
I think
that is what we are missing.
You've given us the perfect point to take a break, and I think on the focus on you, we might as well have changed the focus of this show to you and Swami Vivekananda. We'll take a quick break here on this special series. Remember, it's called Yuva, Youth and Swami Vivekananda come together. We'll come back and debate the ideals and legacy of Swami Vivekananda. Welcome back. You're with our special series, Yuva, here on CNN-IBN. Youth and Swami Vivekananda have come together, and we're looking at whether his teachings of striving to uphold some of the ancient values and still participating in a modern world are more prevalent and more important, perhaps, than ever before. Would that be true, Kiran Bedi?
Values are forever. Can you say being truthful is outdated? Can you say being courageous is outdated? What makes one person fearless? And courage. That's what Swamiji stood for. Fearlessness. Courage. Because he grew with courage. He grew with fearlessness. He wasn't even afraid of facing a tiger. If you read some of his books, he even faced a tiger. And when he was facing a tiger, he thought that tiger must be hungry. He deserves to eat me. So basically, even then, he's fearless, but he's looking at the tiger must be hungry. But the tiger walks away. What makes the tiger walk away? I do not know, Swamiji, if it is true or false. But that's what we grew up reading. The key is courage and fearlessness. That's what Swamiji stood for, is who am I, not what am I. The whole focus of our school education is becoming, when am I becoming an engineer or a doctor or a UPSC examination or a journalist or a rich man or a wealthy. What am I going to be? Not who am I. Not what am I. Who am I to be, to do what I do with my living? And that requires courage of solid 12 years of schooling.
But why is it so difficult for the youth of today to embrace him wholeheartedly? Surely the fault is not just of the education system. Surely the fault is not just of how we are being brought up on a daily basis. But increasingly, I think when we speak to the youth, there is a culture of taking an easy way out.
You know, we try to put the current modern children into some mindset of the past. That's exactly precisely what Vivekananda broke. The thing was science, for example. Mostly the scientific method, experimental method will be frowned upon by the intuitive, contemplative Indian spirituality. But for him, there was no difference. He said that is also a search for truth, and then you can search for truth in a number of ways.
Fair enough. I think one of the thoughts that perhaps been kindled or perhaps is of a lot of emphasis to the youth is when he said that you can be nearer to heaven just by playing football than through the study of Gita.
I think it's an epitome of doing and chasing what you feel right. And I really think, to break it up into simplicity, the Western world, he felt, had a lot of good in it and a lot of sophistication in it, but Indian heritage, over the thousands of years, we almost own up the spiritual highness in this country. And he thinks this is the greatest value for the soul. And today's youth, to feel peaceful with themselves, there is some amount of spiritual inwards looking is very important. And Swami Vivekananda says that this country will shine through if it holds on to its values. And that is something a youth can rightly own up. It is cool to be spiritual. It's not just cool to be wearing the best of clothes and having all the luxuries. It is cool to be spiritual, I should say that.
No, that particular question that you asked, no, you are nearer to heaven by playing football. Now the point is, it was quite often wrongly understood, by trying to be spiritual or trying to lead a great life. Exactly. You give up all that which is your strength, your being, having good physical condition, etc. So that is where he said that. Build your physical strength also. Excel everywhere. Unless you have a very strong body, you cannot have a strong mind. You cannot absorb higher thoughts, higher values. A weakling cannot take to spiritual life. So in that sense, he said, even to pursue spirituality, you need a good body, you need strength.
I think we've already talked enough, but in a sense we've barely scratched the surface. I'm just going to quickly leave the floor open for quick audience questions.
I want to ask, how can we as youth put the teachings of Swami Vivekananda in our daily lives?
Yeah, I think Swami Vivekananda is very categorical in what he says. He says the West and the East both have to work together to create a perfect world, and our strength and dimension is on towards spirituality and everything else. For the youth, his message is very clear in your daily life. He says, have faith in yourself, have faith in yourself, have belief in yourself. Very simple language. He puts it in very, very simple language. Have a goal, think about it, breathe it 24/7, and you will achieve it. You have to put all the efforts behind it, you will achieve it. And that's what is focus all about. And he very clearly puts focus, concentration is the word he uses. Concentration is everything. Anybody who can concentrate on one specific thing for long enough time will be able to achieve that thoroughly. This is enough lesson for us to achieve what you want.
You wanted to add?
I wanted to say, you are what you eat. You agree?
So don't eat less.
You are what you eat more, it shows. You eat less, it shows. You eat the wrong stuff, it shows. Because you bear the consequences of that. It becomes visible, and then you go to a doctor, get a medicine. The point is, you are what you read, you are what you see, you are what you hear, and what you are what you experience.
Okay, let me take one from there and I'll come back to you.
I would like to ask that today the youth is torn between two entirely different directions. On one hand, we have individualism, our ambitions, hopes and aspirations. We want to grow and prosper. And on the other hand, we have spiritualism and our old Indian philosophy. So could you please guide us on which path we should take, which can balance both the world?
You see, as the question she raised, on one hand we are so much bothered by our own individual progress of prosperity and career and all that. On the other hand, there are always some tags, some feelings towards a spiritual life or whatever it is. Here, Swamiji gives the answer. Supposing you try to reflect, know about your nature. Now, why do we aspire only for our own progress, our own prosperity? Beneath that is an inherent fear of insecurity. We want to have more, we want to have more. Even then we will feel we are insecure. On the other hand, even when you are young, you try to imbibe this idea, I am not limited. I have infinite potential, infinite capacity, infinite dimension. Now whatever you do, whatever progress, attempts at progress you try or make, all that will go to a larger benefit. You will achieve, but you will never be restricted to your own individual interests or individual security. So the fundamental secret or the real essence or the crux lies in understanding, at least intellectually to start with, the infinite dimension of your own personality. Then only whatever you attempt, you will always think of a larger context, a larger huge set of beneficiaries, infinite number of people. So you will find that when you start widening your horizon to a bigger and bigger dimension, automatically your goals will start also expanding. You will aspire for more, you will be an achiever also, because you are no longer worried about your own growth or your own prosperity or your own little small selfish interest that restricts you, makes you extremely afraid of everything. You are afraid of failure, you are insecure, all that will go away.
Professor, I'm going to give you the final word and then we're going to wrap up the show. Go ahead.
See, this book which I got, I just want to tell that there are a lot of young people who are already doing a small amount. This book which I got, from which I quoted, is from the Vivekananda Study Circle in IIT Madras. It is working more than 15-20 years, and a lot of young people keep doing it. Each one of you don't have to do anything more in your school. 5 people, 6 people, you do that, you will imbibe, and then on you will do. And just on that other one, in life everything is a contradiction, okay? Everything is a duality. Everything there is an opposite. And that will confront you in everything. I am a boy, I am a girl, I wish I was a boy, you will say. And then another time you will say, I wish I was a girl. This we will confront and go towards, keep on nudging it, go towards a larger goal. Then you get the greatest of the Advaita, the monism, that is what Swamiji stood for. So the contradictions will be transcended. So don't worry about contradictions now. You should have it. If you don't have it, I don't believe you. You are not truthful.
Okay, so don't worry about contradictions. Eat well, jog, meditate, and link your basic goal to a higher goal.
And then have a study circle.
I think we've got enough to imbibe and to think on for many, many hours ahead. I think on that note, we must thank this eminent panel who's joined us. Thank you very much. I think we've got lots to soak in and to think about perhaps for days. We'll wrap up this show here. Remember, it's Yuva. It doesn't finish with this show. Lots of people perhaps have been inspired here, but several leaders of India and across the world have been inspired by Vivekananda's teachings. In the second of this series, the man who in a sense put India on global stage. We'll come back with lots more. Thanks very much for joining us on this special series.